we put it over here? No, I'll just throw it right here.
All right. Wow, this is loud. How's it going, everyone? Thank you for coming out tonight. Excited to have you all here. We got a great panel for you tonight, talking about the future of recruiting and getting hired in Silicon Beach with some awesome panelists. Really excited for tonight. So just wanted to kind of introduce myself and my company. My name is Quentin Ford. I'm the founder of K&W Agency, and we're building a smarter business community here in Silicon Beach. And there's a lot that goes behind that. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that, just please come talk to me after this event. Happy to fill you in and tell you more about what we've got going on over here. I do want to give a big shout out to Control Collective for hosting us here tonight. This is a co-working space, but it's really more than that. I've gained so much value just from working out of here, and the partnerships and collaborations that come out of this space are amazing. The people who work here are great. And if you're interested in memberships, there's all different levels from kind of day passes to renting your own office. You can talk to Paulina, who's actually there, just chilling at the desk. I also want to give a big shout out to Fisherman Labs for helping us make this event possible. They do marketing, VR, app development. They're located right up here. And we got Morgan from Fisherman Labs right here joining us today. So feel free to talk to him about any of that stuff as well. Side note, if you guys want to take any pics or anything like that, please feel free to tag hashtag K&W Agency, or I know Instagram just launched their live streaming situation, so if you want to throw it up on Instagram Live, go ahead. Cool. So let's go ahead and just have the panelists introduce themselves tonight. Let's go ahead and start with you, Jamie. Yeah, it's kind of loud today. I don't know what the range is, but.
Okay. My name is Jamie Bond, and I'm the head of talent acquisition at Grindr. We are a mobile dating app.
My name is Dakota Younger. I'm the founder and CEO of Boon, and Boon is a referral network.
Cool.
My name is DJ. I work for Roth Staffing, so I'm in the staffing agency world, and I do accounting and finance staffing for Ledgent is the division I work for.
Very cool. Great. So during this whole presentation, I'm going to go around and see if anyone has questions, and I can hand off the mic if anybody does. But I'm going to go ahead and start this off. Jamie, so can you tell us a little bit about your how you guys do your sourcing at Grindr, and maybe some things that you guys are doing to attract top talent over there?
Yeah, so Grindr is an interesting story because we're almost 8 years old, but the recruiting department is brand new as of this year. We've always outsourced everything, so we really built it from the ground up. I really believe that sourcing and recruiting are two different functions. I don't want my sourcer trying to interview and sell and close all the time. So we have a really technical sourcer. He uses a variety of tools. I think a lot of what he uses, he creates his own custom search engines, and he scrapes all of these different websites like GitHub, LinkedIn. He uses tools like Email Hunter to get all of this information that's not necessarily posted online. And then we will typically use a data miner to take all this information and kind of deposit into one area for us to use. The outreach program that we use was actually designed by a gentleman that worked at Google pre-IPO and then helped build the sourcing division over at Microsoft. So I work with him really closely on really what our outreach messaging is and the consistency. I had a really amazing candidate finally reach out to me and said, like, you know, on the 9th message, like we said, just the right thing that got his attention, and he's finally now in the process. We like to hire really technical sourcers. Like I said, I feel like a lot of people can do both, but they're kind of like when you're a startup and you start to not do 2 and 3 jobs and you specialize in your own job. Like I feel like sourcing and recruiting is becoming a little bit more specialized in their skill sets.
Yeah, you mentioned some tools there and some strategies that I haven't heard of. We've done a couple of career panels actually, and nobody's mentioned the data mining and things like that. And I know about that stuff, but I'm glad you guys are on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Forward thinking. Dakota, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
So can you explain a little bit more about Boon?
Yeah.
It was very brief.
Yes.
What I want you to do is tell us a bit about your company, sort of how you're building a candidate database and maybe the different ways you work with clients to offer recruitment solutions.
Yeah, so essentially, just to kind of explain what Boon does, is Boon, we have a semantic matching algorithm that can proactively sync up with someone's social networks, like your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Google, and then identify who in your network is a good fit for the job opportunities that are on Boon, and then tell you about them. So that if you send a referral for that opportunity that's on Boon to someone in your network, and they end up getting hired, Boon ensures that you get paid for that hire. So a lot of the bounties on Boon are like 5, 6, 10 grand. So Boon's actually like a recruiter sitting next to you, searching through all of your social networks and telling you who's a good fit for these jobs. And that's, so that makes it super easy. You have basically a recruiter telling you who's good for all these roles. You don't have to necessarily know whether DevOps is or sysadmin or front-end developer or Android. You don't need to know all the technologies and tools. But what's cool is then you're able to do the stuff that people are really good at, and that's the interpersonal stuff in terms of figuring out, hey, does this person seem like they're a good fit for this company? Are they someone that I would want to refer? Are they a hard worker? All that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that's kind of what Boon's doing, is helping companies be able to connect with talent in a more organic way. And there's a lot of clear benefits from hiring through referrals. Like there's a faster hiring process. They have longer stays. Actually, we found a statistic last few months that the average referral hire provides an additional $2,500 annually to the company in revenue, just for being a referral hire. So that's the kind of stuff that we've been helping to kind of tap into. I can really just go all this. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah. Still have a little more I want to hit on that, but so you guys are kind of doing some cool new stuff in that space, kind of reinventing the space a little bit. So where do you see sort of the future of recruiting going? Do you think platforms like yours are kind of going to be where it's at and replace maybe people like DJ over here a little bit more, or what?
I do hope it's going to be where it's at, but that's something that gets hit on a lot, and I don't think so. If anyone's done recruiting, to say that there's a technology that can completely replace a human being that's ridiculous. Anytime I've seen a technology claim to do that, I laugh. That's why I make sure anytime that we're doing marketing and stuff like that, I will shut it down if it says anything remotely close to we're the next recruiter. It's no, let's do autonomous cars before we can find out how to automate recruiting, because there's a lot of variables that go into that. So absolutely not. They'll tell you that they're selling them on a candidate on the roll, getting them through process, following up 9 times. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. A recruiter's job is by no means easy. Our goal is to allow recruiters to do what they do best and make it more accessible for the average person. We're not trying to be a recruiter replacer. And even if we were trying to, I think that would be a very futile effort. Let's start small. We don't need to boil the sea. That's my thought.
Yeah, right on. Very cool. And DJ, so you come from more of a traditional staffing firm, and I'm curious if you're seeing any new trends in recruitment, or if you're doing anything interesting, kind of differentiate yourself in the changing landscape.
As far as trends go, so I, again, just specialize in the accounting and finance world. So as far as that goes, unemployment for accounting and finance right now is 1%. So that makes my job real fun sometimes. But as far as trends go, we're typically seeing, especially moving into 2017, there's definitely going to be, job postings out the wazoo when it comes to, opportunities out there, but there's going to be about half the amount of candidates that are actively seeking roles. So for every basically 2,000 jobs posted, you're going to probably be seeing about 1,000 candidates actively looking. So that basically means that it's a candidate's market. So there's more for you to choose from, which is a great thing. And that also means that we, and what I do, is have to help companies kind of reevaluate how they're approaching hiring. A lot of them are still very much stuck in that kind of recession phase. And so I'm having to help train them on, hey, you can't pay this person $16 an hour because of whatever. You have to pay them $18 an hour now because unemployment's 1% and they have 4 other job opportunities. And if you pay them 16, they're going to take something else and they're a great candidate. So you're an idiot for not doing that. That's basically how I do it, but I don't say it like that. It's a much gentler approach. Other than that, as far as trends go, company culture is going to be something that is just going to probably, I wouldn't say supersede experience, but it's getting to be something that is really, really important. I have clients and companies tell me all the time that, I want to see culture fits as opposed to maybe an experienced candidate, someone that I can bring in and figure out where they fit in with my organization experience-wise. I just want somebody that's a culture fit. So we have a survey that we've done pretty recently where most hiring managers, the number one thing they want to know about by a long shot is company culture and how to increase that. A pretty good friend of mine just got a job in Atlanta in HR. She is just in charge of creating and maintaining company culture. So that's a new position we're going to probably be seeing a lot more of in human resources here coming up. So just all of that, yeah. And what was the second part?
Well, I'm going to move
Did
on
I
to
answer
something
it?
else.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
I was curious, do you think that the amount of calls that you're making each day is going to significantly reduce or maybe reduce in the future, given the fact that there's so much emailing and so much that can be accomplished through something like Slack channels or emailing or creating massive lists and kind of data mining essentially. So
yeah, the main reason I pick up the phone now if I'm doing, because part of my job is sales, I do basically half business development, half recruiting, and then I also play matchmaker. For me, when I pick up the phone now, it's not always necessarily to do business development. I do a lot of that on LinkedIn. I do a lot of that on emailing, networking events. That's really how I kind of do things. If I'm calling a client or calling a candidate, it's mostly because I need to do something like ASAP and get something moving a little bit quicker because the email just moves too slow for my business and what I do. Because I have people call me and say I need somebody tomorrow morning. So clearly an email is not going to work for that because how often do you actually check your email? So yeah.
Right on. And then Dakota, your system can replace a lot of back and forth calling that a traditional recruiter would do. Can you kind of address that and maybe talk about some of the benefits that your system can provide?
Yeah, I think that again, picking up the phone has its clear benefits, and I don't think that will be replaced. I think the goal is to make those phone calls more impactful, both for the person that's making the call and the person that's receiving it. Right now, if let's say we're all on the phone just calling people, it's going to generate kind of like a spam type of mentality where you don't want to pick up your phone anytime, And so if you can establish a reputation and set a standard and a norm of these calls being purposeful and impactful and generating traction for whatever their reason is, then I think that's where it should be, and that's what our goal is to make these communications, whether it is with phone or even email or whatever it is, it's more relevant to the recipient and for the person that's making the call, because then you're able to focus on quality conversations. And again, whatever the medium that's coming through, that's our goal, is to not it's going to change for, whether it's urgency or based on what the information that needs to be communicated, all that kind of stuff is going to change how, what medium that's going to go through. I think that what you'll see is, again, ways to refine and improve the way that those, conversations are developing, so that people are still responsive to it. Because if we don't do that, what's going to end up happening is that people are going to shut down. Again, stop answering their emails or stop checking their inbox, stop answering their phone, and it's just going to numb people to that, that, I guess, stimulus.
Right.
That's my thought.
Cool. So I wanted to move on to LinkedIn actually, because LinkedIn is something that I've always used. I got really good with it. I was using data mining tools. I'm pretty savvy on that network, but recently I've been using a lot of Facebook and finding a lot of benefits there. So I'm just curious how much of recruiting is done through LinkedIn, and what are some of the major benefits that you see on LinkedIn? And maybe this is a question for...
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear how that's worked for you.
I believe in LinkedIn and we use it. I only use it to a certain extent. I think we utilize LinkedIn. I refuse to pay LinkedIn fees. And I also refuse to let LinkedIn tell me how to do my job, which they are really, really good at. And I get emails from them frequently telling me, you cannot do that. And I respond. But I do respond. I think LinkedIn's a great tool. I mean, I personally, I look at people in a certain role and they don't even have a LinkedIn profile. Like, don't ever send me a resume or apply for a job and not have a LinkedIn profile. Automatically reject you because I wonder how in the world you're connecting with people and just kind of staying informed. It's a necessary tool. I feel like it's a necessary evil. In my opinion, they've gotten a little too big for their britches and it's hard to get away from them. I think it's a really great tool used in moderation.
Do you guys have the like super premium account?
I won't pay for that.
Yeah.
We have LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, which is like a $100 a month version. So I can see profiles and I can send in-mails. A lot of the roles that we focus on are the harder, we're a tech company, so we have a lot of engineering hires. They're not on LinkedIn very often. One of the best managers I have is on our SDET team, and he won't even fill out his LinkedIn profile because we'll just get overwhelmed with emails from recruiters all day long. So they don't want to be emailed and they don't want to get emails anymore. It's a little overdone in terms of like the only way to communicate with people. I still get emails that I answer. I'm very careful about it, but for the right situation, like it's a really great tool, especially if you're young and you're just starting your career and you're learning a network or you move into a new city. It's not something that you can solely rely on.
Yeah, I actually got the LinkedIn Super Recruiter and found out maybe 2 months into it that most of the features were pretty useless, and then went with Recruiter Lite.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Could do everything that I needed to do with the Super one. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Don't buy that.
Yeah, if you're a job seeker, I would definitely upgrade your subscription. For $20, $30 a month, you can get more access. You can send people more emails, and you can turn it off at any time. I think that's definitely worth somebody's money. I mean, you can't pay $60 to help yourself find a job. Then you got to help yourself a little bit. But on the professional level, it's not. I think it's seen its day.
Cool. We have a question over here.
Jamie, this question is for you. Since you look for a lot of technical people, where do you find them if they're, because LinkedIn isn't necessarily where they put their skills out? Do you find them at General Assembly? Do you find them on all these other like Dice and?
We use Dice. Dice has a new tool or a newish tool where you can source people from. We do a lot of the search engines on inside Grindr, and we'll go ahead and scrape GitHub, and you can scrape GitHub for a lot of different keywords. So we're looking for people with different types of code. Maybe they've worked with certain projects and we know we're looking for like a particular type of language or, a keyword here or there. I use Stack Overflow. Every company is a little bit different. Grindr has a very mature engineering team, so it's really difficult for us to use recent grads from General Assembly. I think those are really fantastic programs for people going into either a really mature company that has the bandwidth to support like more junior people, or a startup where they're really looking to, for you to really grow with them.
Great. Actually, DJ, I know that your company signed up with the Super LinkedIn recently. Just curious what your thoughts are on that.
I think I was trying to remember. They told us the other day that I think we are like the number 5 or 6 highest spending company with LinkedIn right now. I don't use the beefed up recruiter that much, to be very honest with you. I use it for our unlimited in-mails. I use it for that, but for me and what I do, it's much easier for me, I think, to, just do a quick, 5-sentence job description on my LinkedIn post, just for me to post on my own LinkedIn page and generate, candidates via, that. Or, we have a service that we use called Itabu, which allows us to post to Facebook and Twitter and our own pages and Career Builder and LinkedIn as well if we want, and gives us all these options for what we can choose at once. So we do one posting and click the button and it goes out all over the place. So for me and what we do, I think it's easier for us to actually really use a job board more than anything, because for turnaround time and speed, we have very good success with posting a job and then coming in the next morning and having a plethora of candidates to choose from. So for me, I don't think the beefed up, I don't use it as much. Some of my colleagues do. They just, they kill it.
All day.
Yeah. I mean, you can get sucked into it. There's a
lot to learn there.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to move on to these new forms of communication, like things like Snapchat and Twitter and Instagram. Are any of you guys up there leveraging these platforms to kind of communicate with candidates prior to them actually, submitting a resume or coming in for an interview?
No, I'm not. I have started recently using Facebook quite a bit. And there's a Facebook group, I think, that has about 35,000 LA people in it. And I've been posting jobs in there and actually been having some pretty good success finding candidates through that. And if I post a job opportunity, then I will definitely be getting candidates not only from my line of business in the accounting and finance world, but also for one of my other teams. I haven't gotten any tech folks out of it, but definitely HR and administrative and clerical and customer service types of roles that one of our other teams handles. I've been getting quite a few candidates for those teams too through it. So it seems to be a nice way of doing things. Twitter and I don't know. I haven't used them really.
Okay, cool. Jamie, what about you guys at Grindr?
So occasionally I use the Grindr app. I can send out free messages on the Grindr app to our users, believe it or not. And we can specialize, where we can pick, which location, we can send it out to. Popular to contrary belief, you do not have to be a Grindr user to work at Grindr, but there are some roles where we realize that point of view might be more helpful. And so we do use that. My sourcer has found and hired people from Facebook. In fact, we hired our manager of data science from Facebook with a Facebook message. So I was pretty proud of him for that. He usually uses it to scrape information or look for keywords and find people. I used to use Twitter at a previous job, and I would tag all the different little hashtags and talk about jobs. I never had really any success in it. I text a lot. Once I've spoken to a candidate, I give them my personal cell phone and I let them know, you call me day or night, you have a question, I'm here to help you. And I have full conversations via text message while they're at work, sometimes where I wouldn't get to talk to them. And then we use Snapchat a lot at Grindr, but I think it's more for our user base and different events that we're doing.
Okay.
So I could probably get a little bit better on the social media side. I tend to be a little more shy.
Okay, right on. And Dakota, I know you have a Slack channel that you invite recruiters into and have conversations. So maybe give us an idea of some of the communities that you're leveraging, maybe Reddit, Facebook, and kind of how you're starting the conversation there.
I swear, Slack should pay me. They should pay me as like their spokesperson. I promise I've gotten them so much business because I'm like an advocate for them, like to the 10th degree. But I really do love Slack, and if anyone's like, why does everyone like Slack? It's the platform itself is really not that. I mean, it's a messaging app, right? You know, it doesn't have. What's amazing is how well it integrates with everything, because the fact is nobody wants yet another tool. Like, you know what I mean? You want the functionality and the benefit of it, but nobody wants another interface to learn and remember. That's not what we're looking for. So Slack lets you do all that. So yeah, we've had a lot of benefit of inviting people in. What's cool with Slack is you can have channels, private ones, public ones, where you can invite and have more targeted messages for people. They can opt in. So, you know, if we have LA tech individuals or recruiters or business owners, whatever, that they can join these, you know, these channels, we can invite them. So that's been really helpful. It provides a more of a community feel as well, especially because it's invite only. So yeah, we've had a lot of benefit there. I think that it's a really powerful tool, but there's other, you know, similar types of mediums out there. Like you can use Facebook Messenger and have a Facebook group or something like along those lines. I just had the most success with Slack for whatever reason, because of that invite only, or because of that, it's more of an effort, I guess, to join. The people that do end up joining seem to be more engaged and whatnot. And we've gotten a lot of really good feedback, and it makes it really easy to be able to share documents and whatnot as well. So you can go from like a casual, you know, conversation like, hey, what do you think about this? And share maybe a design. So I've shared stuff with like the recruiters that we talk to and say, hey, what about this UI? And they can easily respond. So it's a great way to be able to share documents and stuff like that. And again, because it integrates with so much stuff, like you can tie into like so many cloud platforms and other tools and stuff like that, with that having them to go sign in and log into all this other stuff.
Right on.
So yeah.
What about like getting the word out about your company? Like, how do you attract recruiters to your platform and sort of build your database there?
I think the cool thing about hiring is recruiters, for the most part, seem to be pretty open-minded to trying to find new tools. They don't want to be left out. Nobody wants to be that recruiter that, you know, shows up to some sort of recruiting event and everyone's like, oh, I've been killing it on blank. And you're like, wait, what is this? And they're like, you haven't heard about this? And like, no, I haven't. I'm like, nobody wants to be that recruiter like that. Nobody likes to be that person in general, but especially for recruiting, that means your money's out. I mean, you could be potentially missing out on all this capital and revenue. So I think recruiters in general, they keep their eyes and ears open. We strangely, I mean, not so strangely, I guess, but we get referred a lot to you know, one great recruiter or one kind of forward-thinking individual will refer us to somebody else, will refer us to somebody else. So that's one way we've built our network as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the cool thing about recruiters as a whole, is that because even if they aren't necessarily like the sourcer and recruiters are, you know, kind of, I do think dividing and becoming more specialized, there's still, recruiters are always keeping their eyes and ears open for ways to connect with candidates, find, you know, candidates, determine who's a talented candidate or who's the right fit. So yeah, we've gotten, you know, social media and just general referrals have been really powerful for us.
Great. Little side note, actually, I remember on your platform, you're able to import your LinkedIn contacts.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, we want to be able to allow people to bring in all this information that they already have. Like nobody, I mean, who is like woken up in the middle of the night and like, you know what I need is another social network. That's what that would solve my, nobody's thinking that right now. Everyone's like, if I could actually get rid of most of these, my life would probably be better. And so what we're trying to do is, you know, like, okay, let's let you use your LinkedIn. LinkedIn's really stingy with their information. But let you use it as much as you can, so you can import your LinkedIn, you know, import your Facebook, all that stuff. And that way you're able to leverage your full network, because there's overlap, you know, your Facebook, your LinkedIn's, your Twitter's, all that stuff. We want to allow our users to be able to import that stuff. LinkedIn has to be manual, but the rest of them that actually are friendly with their APIs, we have a natural integration with. But LinkedIn, you have to like manually download the CSV because they hate people touching their information. Yeah, I have a very similar feeling about LinkedIn.
Yeah, right on. I think it's a trending right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone in the crowd have any questions that they want to bring up right now about any of the topics that we hit?
Yeah, Hi, I'm one of those job seekers in tech, and I come from the consumer electronics market. So I think one of the topics is going to be how to get into the Silicon Beach area. So just any tips from Grindr and other companies, the recruiters?
To be really honest, I see a lot of candidates trying to get into technology without the right experience, and it simply takes time. Some of them are just not willing to start at the bottom again, and it's a really, really hard thing to do. But they really just kind of cross their fingers and hope that you'll give them an opportunity if you just only knew them. You know, and it's really hard to do when you're looking at, you know, 300 resumes in an hour or two, and your resume is not specific to your skill set. When it, like, this sounds mean, and I know that everybody else feels this way too. No one's gonna look at your resume for 5 minutes. You have 15 seconds to catch somebody's eye. So if you're not talking about, if they can't figure out what you're capable of immediately, very rare people are going to give you the attention. And I know that's not the answer that people want to hear. But companies like Grindr, we're looking for people to come in forward from day one. Like I said, you either have to be at a startup where they're going to take a chance on your skills and they're going to count on you contributing more than one person should be expected to, or you need to go to a really large environment that has the bandwidth to support learning. And those medium-sized companies that are like in a growth phase, they're not the companies that can support you learning. They just need you to really move it forward. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. But I want to tell you the truth about what recruiters really think.
Yeah.
At least me.
For me, I would echo very much some of that. I was working with 2 of our interns and trying to explain to them that their resume is initially just going to be scanned for keywords that people are looking for. So again, if your resume doesn't look like the role you're trying to apply to, and especially even have the verbiage and the technologies, I mean, obviously you don't want to fabricate this, but if it's, you know, put what the job descriptions have in there, and you need to make it very, very dummy proof, because one, I would not say that recruiters are necessarily the smartest individuals I've ever met. I'm not saying that they're not intelligent, because there are intelligent ones out there, but the other thing is that they're looking at, I mean, if the hiring manager is looking at hundreds of job descriptions, and resumes, imagine how many the recruiter that referred them is. I mean, you know what I mean? Your eyes are scanning things like 15 seconds. Like, I would say that's pretty generous. Like, that's someone doing a pretty quality job, because for my eyes, I would have to like slow them down, because it was like, if they didn't see, you know, 3 or 4 of the biggest keywords for the hot buttons for that role, it was out. You know what I mean? They don't have time to assess and like give you a chance, because time is money. You know what I mean? And they're not here to make like risky bets. They want to make the most guaranteed. So you need to really look at like what you're applying to, and make it like, you know, all the technologies on that resume. Make sure that even sometimes the titles are, you know, are aligned up. Again, it needs to be almost so obvious that whether somebody even speaks that language, they could see that these 2 are similar. You know what I mean? You're trying to do like a compare, and they need to look almost identical to the job description with accuracy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give recruiters, like, you know, we can't be the smartest people ever. You can't know everything about every single job. And one day I'm going to look at a senior accountant resume, and the next day the next minute I'm looking at an SStat, and then somebody over here is in marketing. Like, one person can only know so much about each role. So you want to know like a little bit, like enough to be dangerous. And so when I look at a resume, you know, the title is just so far off. They're not describing what they've done. You know, they want to just kind of like ramble at the beginning and say something really fun or friendly, or they have a random company name that nobody's going to know, and they don't tell you anything that they do. You know, you're looking for people with skill sets that are going to, you know, kind of align. So if you're coming from General Mills, like, it's gonna be real hard to get a job at Grindr, because we have 2 different goals. So when people they're not giving you information right away. Like, I remember I saw this thing years ago, and it was kind of like a heat map of like where people look on resumes, and people will put information in all kinds of places, and no one's going to give you, like, you can't be that generous with strangers, and it's not nice to say that out loud, but you got to grab somebody's attention like immediately. When I write my resume, I don't even write my resume. I give it to somebody else and say, here's the information about me, you write it objectively, because I can't get myself out of that space where I think I know what that sentence means. I think they're going to know what that means. My old assistant is really good at writing resumes.
Yeah. I would say, again, just to touch on the culture piece, I mean, you know, that's something that's a little bit out of your control a lot of times, I feel like, because you can't really I guess you could remake yourself if you wanted to, and just, you know, Madonna that shit all day long. But I think that it really comes down to for this market in particular. I think there's very much culture fit from what I've been seeing. I also just think that, you know, for me, I do search keywords on resumes occasionally. You know, Control F is my best friend sometimes. Some things that I've done in the past, maybe to kind of, like you were saying, just kind of be as closely aligned to that job description as possible. It didn't work out too well for me, but for some jobs, I talked about this last time that I applied for. I literally copy and pasted the entire job description into the bottom footnote of a resume and put it in white ink so that everything in that job description would hit if it was going to be going through huh?
That's interesting. I didn't think about
Yeah, right. The only problem is if it gets highlighted and they see it at the bottom, then you're screwed. But you know, or they could think it's really cool.
I mean, think it's clever. Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's very clever, but I think candidates always ask me, "Oh, you read my resume? I thought you just put it through a system and it read it for you." Oh no, I gotta read them all.
Yeah,
Somebody's reading them all. I don't know if anybody uses those tools that.
Oh no, that automatically scan. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
That used to.
Maybe used to, but I don't, and I don't know any companies that do. But yeah, so I tried that a couple times because a friend of mine told me about it, and I was like, okay, sure, you know what, whatever. I'm looking for a job, sure, why not? And who cares if they like it or not? I don't. Whether or not they can hire me or not, who cares? And then also something that we do in my company that I think is really cool, we call it Video Select, but I think this is something that the average job seeker, anyone out there, can do. I think that basically what we do is we get our candidates in the door. We have them actually make a 30-second to a minute-long video just kind of highlighting who they are. You could do this on YouTube. Just go record yourself with your computer on YouTube, talk about what you are, who you are, what you bring to the table, what you're going to bring in terms of value to a company. Copy that link, paste it in your resume, send that to a company. That way, not only they're seeing you on paper, because everybody's paper is the exact same thing when it really comes down to it. Everybody's trying to get a job, you know what I mean? A resume is a resume. But if you give them something tangible like that they can actually pop open that video and watch a video of you presenting yourself and telling why you're a good candidate, you automatically, in my opinion, move to the top of the pile, or you move to the bottom of the pile really quickly. But either way, I've got a much better idea of who you are, how you present yourself, how you communicate, how you interact with, you know, other people potentially. There's a lot of things I learned, like, you know, from that really, really quickly. So that's something we utilize quite a bit that I think could be really, really helpful. And if you got a YouTube video in your resume that I can click to a link on, I'm automatically going to think, oh, this person's a little more tech savvy than most others, you know? So there's a lot of things like that, tips and tricks wise, that you could maybe utilize to maybe get some more attention. Yeah.
I want to just add on to, like, when we talk about culture fit, a lot of companies and a lot of candidates want to come work for a place that they feel really passionate about. So some candidates will come to us and they say, well, I really love your tech stack. Well, that's great, you're an engineer, but you have to love everything else that we're doing too to be really passionate. So if you're reinventing your career, find companies that it's a product that you use. You are an avid cyclist, you know, go work before, like, Performance Cycles corporate office, you know, not trying to go work for like something that you've never heard of just because you think it's going to get you somewhere. Because I want to hire people who believe in equality and human rights, and they truly have to believe that that LGBT people are just as equal as everybody else. So when a candidate comes to me and says, well, you know, if you're normal or you're LGBT, like, I know you're not for us. You have to be, someone said that to me last week. So having that passion is going to get you through the door, you know, more so, I think, than, like, if you're reinventing yourself, to be passionate about their product, having to use their product, believe in their product, or whatever it is that they're selling. Everybody's selling something. I think that will get you in a place where they're willing to teach you more so than they're looking for you to just kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remember that the flow of how someone is going to find that info. Because let's say if you don't even start with your resume, and your resume is just has no recognition to what you're applying to, but you have this great video where you say, they're not going to probably find that because they're not going to get to that point. So think about the process and how someone is going to reach out to you. If you have, your resume doesn't have to be the best thing of all time, but if it does the job in terms of attracting an additional interest, and then there's a clear link, it's clearly posted to, hey, check out this video. And then, you know what I mean? Then you just need to get them to the point of talking to you. But that's where I think you would be making an error if you had this one great thing that they're not going to see because you haven't done your foundation. You haven't put down the basics of what's going to get someone intrigued enough to find this additional stuff. And sometimes I'll also see like someone like a resume that's tricked out and like designed crazy, but it actually doesn't even do the actual job of the resume. And it's like, yeah, no, you're great. You really did communicate the fact that you're a designer. You also communicated the fact that you probably don't wear shoes or something because you seem very eccentric. We're looking for somebody that can take direction. You can't write a resume. You can design something very beautiful. That's, that's not the purpose of that resume. The resume is designed to communicate the skills. Yes. You can have a portfolio that does that. I'm just saying, like, make sure that you have what you're focusing on is following the process that someone would actually reach out to you and how you would go into that hiring process and how you would get into that.
One more thing I forgot to add really quickly. The greatest thing that you can do on your resume is put value-added statements. Mm-hmm. What makes you valuable to a company? I don't necessarily need to know as, an AP specialist, accounts payable specialist, that you processed 350 invoices a week. So does every other AP specialist, right? What I want to know is, what did you do that made you different from your coworkers? What value did you add to your supervisor? Yeah, I can see that your job title is controller, but what is it about you as a controller that made you valuable to that company? Those value added statements in resumes are always going to catch my attention more so than somebody just posting a bullet point about, I budgeted for the year. Great, so did every other controller. So what did you do that saved your company money? What did you do that, all of those things? What advanced or made you a valuable asset to that company that would get me interested in you as a candidate, that makes me think that you're going to be a valuable asset to one of my clients? That's really going to get my attention.
We have a question over here.
Yeah, there's also one in the back too with that gentleman.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just had when you were talking about posting to a YouTube video or something like that, with equal employment opportunities and stuff like that, I know of a lot of friends who are color or have dreads and stuff like that, and they've been overlooked for jobs. So it's a little scary when I hear like, oh, I might not get hired unless I'm getting to be seen or get an interview.
Yeah.
Are you not worried about a little bit of backlash on that? Because like I said, I have friends that are definitely very qualified, but because of their color, they may be being held back actually.
Well,
I have friends on their LinkedIn profile, for instance, they will not post a photo. They actually get more hits without their photo because of what they have.
I don't reach out to anyone on LinkedIn without a photo, number one. But no, if the person shouldn't be a recruiter if they're going to be biased in any way, shape, or form towards someone's looks, period. I know what you're saying. I get it. Well, sure.
I would say this. I would say if your friends are applying for companies that are racist, they've dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to work for anybody, and I don't want to represent anybody who's not going to give somebody a chance because the color of their skin, their orientation, their political stance. Well, I guess at Grindr would be hard if you're a hardcore Republican. Within reason, obviously. Well, LGBT rights and things like that. You have to be in alignment, of course. But my point is, like, you don't want to work for those places. Yeah. I represent recruiting for Grindr what we believe in. And so should every recruiter for those companies. So go seek out companies who have the same core beliefs as you do. If they're racist, I would never want to work there. You don't certainly want to be inside of that company.
I guess I really do like the video idea. I think that you would want to make sure that you're putting the right image out there. If you're in your sweats and your hair, you know what I mean? And you got just dirt all, make sure that it's like an interview. You want to make sure you're putting the right image out there. But Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If somebody's going to be like, well, I don't like, the look of that person's face. If that's the type of hiring they're doing, like, that's not, I mean, that to me is like mind boggling. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you really did dodge a bullet. Like, why would you want to work at a company that they're like, that's how, I mean, how are you going to get a raise? Is it because they don't like the shoes you're wearing? Like,
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, a good recruiter looks for presentation. Did you take a shower? Can you comb your hair? Do you know the appropriate clothes to put on? Are you normal? Do you speak in clear sentences? Are you educated to the level that's going to help you be successful at your job? That's what people should be looking for. The personal little things. You can't help the color of your skin. I can't help that I'm a woman. If somebody wants to judge me on that, I would not want to spend my time around them, and I would never want to work for them because I'll never win.
We have another question over here.
I would love to hear more about how you're using those different communities. So earlier you talked about the Slack group, and I think DJ, you were talking about Facebook, maybe there's also Dakota. But specific questions on those communities is like, on the Slack group, how did you build it? Who's invited? How do you take part in it? What kind of content are you putting in there to get engagement? Like, how did you bring people from other places? And on Facebook, how are you engaging in Facebook to draw the audience to you?
So with Slack, you can obviously send people invites. You can have a button also that, like, what they'll do is it'll notify. It's a little bit more automated where someone can click on it. We have it on our website where they can click on it, express interest, and then you can automatically approve or set it to be an approval so that you can just say yes or no. We have chosen it to not streamline it super automated because we do want to make sure that we're selecting who gets put in there. I think that's great for the image of it, but also make sure that the people you have in the group are going to be contributing. How we select who we want is really just based on our interactions with the people that we're chatting with. I mean, if I'm connecting with somebody that seems like they have a lot of passion, especially for recruiting, I love to hear. I personally love to add people that have a lot of forward thoughts and have a lot of experience or have a lot of stuff they want to contribute or are really curious. That's stuff that I find really interesting. We also will invite, because we're startup investors and whatnot, into our Slack group because it helps. One, it gives us a great way to be able to share information and documents with them and kind of control that a little bit better. But also it shows them that we have this community. So if you're at a startup, I think that's another great thing is you can show that, hey, look, we actually have people engaging with us. We have a real community here and it's not just a website that people are going to. And then in terms of engagement, like Slack that's one of the reasons why I think Slack's probably one of the best is because there are so many bots that you can just randomly connect if you want. So we have stuff like news bots that are posting on news channels so that people can use it almost as like a cool news app feed that if they want. We have introduction app bots that when somebody's added, they can introduce themselves and ask them questions about themselves. We have bots that people can give each other kudos and props, and it tracks that. So we have and those are just stuff that, takes 2 seconds to put in, but we also have stuff like polls. So we can ask what is your biggest gripe about recruitment, or what have you found that's been the most successful tool? And people like to share stuff, especially recruiters, I think, or hiring professionals really like to share and discuss the different tools that they've had experiences with. And so I think it's really particularly helpful for the recruitment in general is it seems to be a very engaged audience. But that's why I think Slack is so great. It's because of all these tools you can connect. Just going to the Slack marketplace, you can connect 20 different bots that are now doing, not it's not going to revolutionize the world, but it really helps build some backbone and some character to your Slack group that can provide relevant information to the types of people that you have without you having to do anything, right? So that's been my experience. I haven't used Facebook and whatnot as much on my end. So maybe, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, Facebook wise, and I would love to, what's your name? The scarf who asked the question earlier. What's your name?
Mel.
Mel? Okay, I would love to chat with you afterwards. Sure, okay. Facebook wise, so the group that I'm a part of, I can just give you the name of it if you'd like. It's called Jobs Hiring Now, and then in parentheses, CA / Los Angeles in parentheses.
Don't join the wrong one.
Right, the forward slash, not the backslash. Huh? Jobs hiring now. Parentheses CA. You do, in parentheses. You do have to, when you have to ask to join the group, so someone has to approve you to join the group. I'm not sure why, because there's like literally 30,000 people in the group. I will say though, it's very, very, very active. I hop on there every time because a lot of what I do is contract work. So I'll have a client give me a call and say, hey, I need somebody tomorrow morning for a 3-month project and they have to have this, and this, right? So I post the pay of what's going to be, the job, pay for the job. And then people just come to me, which is great. So I, at that point, give them my email address and they forward me their resume and we go from there. So it does take a little bit, it's an extra step in the kind of process, but I don't really think it's that much different than just putting a job posting up. I interact with it pretty frequently because I just go in there. Like I found a candidate the other day, she was an accounts payable specialist and she just posted in there, I'm an AP specialist looking for a job. And so I messaged her and gave her my email address and said, I have a job for AP in downtown LA, let's talk. And so, an hour later, we were on the phone having a conversation about this job. So it's a pretty unique tool. I was kind of a little like, oh, do I really want to put my personal Facebook into the world of my job and mixing that? But this one kind of nudged me that direction. And I think it has paid off a little bit because it also shows that I'm not just
Humanizes it.
Yeah, it humanizes it completely. I'm not just a face for a company representing a company. I'm actually a person, and in my job every single day, I really strive hard to keep that human aspect in what I do. I understand that people aren't working. I understand that they have bills to pay. I get it. So I'm not trying to take that for granted. And so I really thought it would be a really unique way of just connecting on a different level with people. So if they want to go check out my Facebook, go for it. Or my Instagram or whatever. That shows a little bit more about who I am. And for what I do in this market today, I have to really, not that I didn't before, but I have to really work with candidates and really spend more time with candidates now. And really be more conscious of the way that I'm interacting with those candidates and what their needs are and all of that, just because it is such a candidate-driven market. I can't pay as much attention to clients and what they need because they don't really get much of a say anymore, to be very honest with you.
I want to address something actually with your Facebook question. One of the huge benefits for me is like when I go and post in a group, people will message me and then the conversation started and it's very fast and you can get a lot accomplished just through Facebook Messenger really, really quickly. You post a job, someone hits you up on Facebook Messenger, suddenly you're talking and then you have their email and you're ready to go. It happens very, very quickly. Yep. I don't experience that on LinkedIn very much at all. Nope. LinkedIn's like slower than email most of the time. If you find people on Facebook, you can connect it instantly. So yeah. Just wanted to throw that in.
There is a weird little thing though with Facebook Messenger where if we're not friends on Facebook, it sends you to a different thing. So I didn't realize that for a while.
Message request.
Yeah. So you have to go in and approve the request message at that point. Just be aware.
Just check the message request. I think we have one more question over here.
So you guys are, in the job market and you feel the pulse of it. And with Moore's Law and the law of exponential technology, what does that mean for the job market and what needs to be, it's kind of a loaded question, what needs to be done, because you see this and experience this day in and day out, just overall, like what are some of the areas that need to be fixed in maybe education or in maybe training at bigger companies or more companies that do like more specialized things? Like, what's your take on that?
I'm really excited, but I will try to No, okay. I could honestly talk for like hours about what you just asked, and it's obviously like, yeah, very broad. Where to start? So the first thing that I would, let's say, I'll start here. There's a thing called a skills gap. Do you guys know, familiar with that? So just for like a quick breakdown, if companies are hiring and they're saying, hey, we're trying to make hires, and people are applying to jobs and saying we're looking for jobs, but there are still people not getting jobs. Then that's the skills gap. That means that if there's a demand and there's a supply, why aren't they connecting? And in my opinion, there's two primary reasons that would be the case. And that is, one, that people that are applying for the jobs don't have the requirements, the skills that are necessary, or they do have the skills and requirements necessary, but they're not demonstrating them or displaying them and marketing them correctly. So they're getting overlooked. So this skills gap thing needs to be obviously fixed. It's a huge issue. And I think that you need to tackle both of these problems. One, helping people understand what the market looks like in terms of the demand, the opportunities that are out there, and where they can tailor their career and educate themselves, I think is critical, because that way people aren't getting these degrees and getting out of college and saying, great, now I have just giant debt and no job. And I think that where that happens is, again, because either they didn't get the degree or the skills and qualification that they needed to get the job that they wanted, or they're not selling themselves. And that other part is a huge issue that I think it can be solved for the short term a lot better. And that's one of the things that Boon's tackling. And so when we just talked about tailoring your resume to look like the job descriptions, to me, that is ridiculous that it has to be that much, because it puts a lot of, you would have to have 20, 30 different resumes for all these, but that's how you have to do it kind of right now, depending upon the role you're applying to, obviously. But to me, that shouldn't be the case. And so this is one of the primary things that what Boon's trying to do is that, this is the classic example I give, is that if you have, let's say the requirement needs public speaking abilities, right? Well, let's say you don't have the words public speaking in your resume, and you have debate though. You were a debate champion in college. Debate, if you're looking up keywords, is not public speaking. So therefore you don't have that qualification. Wait a minute, yeah, you do. You were a debate champion, right? And so now you're overlooked because you didn't display it correctly. That's silly that you got overlooked like that. And that's an extreme example, and likely there would probably been something else that hopefully would have caught someone's attention, and then they would have said, oh, debate, or hopefully you would have had the chance of someone recognizing debate is public speaking. But the point is that to help people market themselves better, we need to have technology allowed to better put the dots together, because that's what technology does, right? That's the part that I think can be replaced. But the conversations that are having between people, and the relationships that's being built there, and the credibility that cannot be replaced. You know what I mean? Like if I reached out to someone's a recruiter's book of business was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have a robot do it. They'd be like, no. I want to talk to my recruiter, because I have a relationship. I trust that person. I don't trust this computer. But the computer can do that matching there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that can be helpful, is that people can market themselves better without having to have a marketing degree just to get a job for another job. That's, I think, what needs to be fixed. And then I will stop with the education share and let them jump in, because I could go in a whole other rabbit hole for that.
Actually, you know what? We have a very little time left, so I just want to make sure we get this last question.
I was going to say really quickly, on the engineering side, there's some really great code challenging companies that actually send out tests. I can send out a test to a brand new applicant, and if they pass the test, we're willing to talk to them. And that's a way to get people through the process faster that you may not, for instance, engineers aren't notorious for writing amazing resumes. But what we can also do is we can also send these tests out to the public using all kinds of different forums, and people can just randomly take the test. I think Hacker Rank was telling me the story about last or this year, how the dishwasher and a Mexican food restaurant took this coding challenge, and literally had a job within a month because nobody would have thought that this kid had those types of skills.
That's crazy.
Sometimes it's just really all about how your brain works. Most jobs are about solving problems or selling. And if we could find more ways like we do for engineering to help people showcase or take a test to show, you may have not done the job before, but oh my God, you're an amazing problem solver and you have that ability, on the mathematics side, at least in engineering, we can teach you. We can teach you the rest because all of us, you clearly have something fantastic. And I think that could be done in a lot of other skill sets if someone else started a company that created these tests to allow people to showcase their skills without having that background. Because then for certain, hey, you clearly solve these problems. We have something that we can work with. And that's where, culture fit comes into play. I look for people, not anymore. Do you fit? Do you check every single box? I want to check most of the really important boxes, and I want to decide with a hiring manager, what can we teach you? We can't teach you to fit into our company. We can't teach you to be a good person. We can't teach you to be collaborative. But we can teach you a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something super fast?
Yeah.
I think that.
Is this a passionate topic or what?
Yeah, seriously though, that's why we're up here and we do what we do, because we're passionate about finding the right people for the right job, right? So yes, I think that when I talk to hiring managers, just to kind of go with what, your question was based on, I think that training is something that every job is going to do. I talk to hiring managers all the time and they're like, I'm not willing to train. I'm like, well, yeah, you are, idiot, because you have to hire somebody and they have to learn what you do. Like, you have to train in some way, shape, or form. So really it's all about how much do you actually want to spend on that time training. So to me, I think training is something that can be done in a lot of ways. I had a candidate recently who told me she graduated from high school, she went to a local CPA firm, and that's how she learned accounting. Now she's 27 years old and going back and getting her degree because she knows that might help her a little bit more. But right out of high school, this guy just gave her a job because she was interested in learning it. And it was almost like a glass blower learning the trade from someone that did it before. So, I think there's a lot of ways of doing it. It's not necessarily even today that you have to go to college and get a bachelor's degree in something, because I have clients all the time that tell me that a degree is not even important to them. They just want somebody that can do the job. So.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this, first of all. As an experienced job seeker, I have a little bit of a different question. I have a pretty darn good idea of where I think my skills and the technology and the kind of job that I'm looking for, or set of jobs that I'm looking for are, but matching that up to what is a pretty massive network that I've developed across 30 years to the potential openings of the companies that have openings is a pretty massive task as I go through it. And I would be interested in your comments on how to best go about that.
Do you have an Excel spreadsheet?
It's not that simple.
Yeah, no, I know. Oh,
I have a few ideas, but
You go for it first.
you go for it.
First idea is patience.
Yeah.
So when you say use, so when you're saying use your network, like for, are you talking about for them connecting you with jobs, or?
Well, in other words, I know of certain openings of the type that I'm potentially interested in, and then a whole other set of openings that are potentially interesting but not as good of a match. And how do I, first of all, sift through those openings to find the ones that are the best match through LinkedIn and ExecuNet and ZipRecruiter and a million different sources out there. And by the way, some of them I can't get to through a recruiter because many of the companies don't work with a recruiter that I might be interested in,
Yeah.
Google and others, for instance, right? So how do I get through or come up with this universe of openings, match it up to the my network, because I want to go after those openings that I have an in for.
I need you to travel around with me, and then I'm just gonna plant you in the audience when I'm talking to investors. Yeah, that's exactly,
right?
yeah, that'd be like,
Exactly.
this is exactly, this is what, when I was like, this is insane, and we have to, this is why I created, but yeah, so that's what we're trying to do, and the goal is to allow you want to be able to identify, what types of positions that you might be a good fit for, that maybe the title might be different. Companies sometimes will use different titles. They actually do that just, to protect themselves sometimes. It's because Red Bull does this. They create like the most ridiculous, it doesn't even describe what the role does. Yeah, but they do that because it makes it harder to poach their employees. But so what we want to do is allow that to still be able to find those opportunities, but also be able to, right now, if you notify all your friends and all your networks, right, and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, the chance of getting any bites on that is very low for a few reasons. One, you probably don't know most of the people, especially if they're on LinkedIn, right? You probably have barely met them on a good connection there. Okay, well that's crazy. For me, I would if I sent out an email saying I'm lost in a canyon or a message on LinkedIn, I'm going to die. I'd be like, I'm dead. No one's going to be answering this because nobody knows me, really. With it, yeah, well, I mean, I wish I had that type of connection because I would really be able to get a lot out of it. But I think a lot of people that even if, let's say, you do have those strong connections, it's too much work for them to search. They've got to read your resume, understand it, and now they have to go and find opportunities. That nobody has time for that right now.
Go to them with a specific, hey, can you tell me about this and give me 50 minutes?
So Boon, that's exactly what we do. Is it what we'll do is you can say I'm looking. It'll notify everyone in your network, right? And say, hey, you can notify and say, look, I'm looking, and then it'll help them search through their network and say, here are the 6 positions he'd be a good fit for. So now let's say I'm in your network. I don't have to do any extra legwork. I don't have to read your resume. I don't have to read the job description. I don't have to know what any of you guys do, but because I'm a connection there, I can help make that connection happen. And you don't have to do a ton of legwork either. Again, but what I would do is any kind of relationship and connection we had previously, I could weigh it out and say, do I really think that this, he would be a good fit here? Let's say this is a company that, that you may not be a great culture fit for, that I don't think, or something along, maybe we have a conversation and I know you hate working in the Bay Area or something like that. I'm like, well, you would not like these ones. These are things that, that I'm still able to do more of a quality job as a human being and sift through all that data. So that's what we're trying to do, because right now, you're right, it is Excel sheet, and you'd have to have, at the very least, a connection with like an automation tool by pulling in the data. You'd be scraping stuff off of different sites. Then you'd have to have some sort of matching algorithm that would be what we're building. And trust me, it is a pain in the ass. Like, it is ridiculously hard. So
just go to Boon.
Yeah, I would just go to Boon or look for something similar to that. I think the best route, honestly, is referrals, because people, at least, especially if you have a strong network, like it sounds like you do, then I would leverage them, because if you're trying to, let's say, go into a slightly different industry, somebody, especially internally, referring you, if you're not that, let's say you don't fit perfectly with that role, I would still, if one of my employees referred, someone in, it's like, this guy's not quite a good fit. Like, there's a culture fit can sometimes be a lot more, more of a motivator than someone that has exactly every skill, because it turns out people can learn things. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where my opinion.
Imagine that.
Yeah, funny thing.
Learning.
So, sorry guys, we are out of time. So I want to give a big round of applause for our panelists for coming out here tonight. That was awesome. Oh my God, I'm blowing up.
I thought you had closed music, and I was like, that's really,
I wish.
It's a little Jeopardy.
I definitely would encourage you guys to hang out and talk amongst each other for a little bit. We have until 9 to do that hangout network. That's what this is all about. And if any of you guys have purchased VIP tickets, please come up to the front and speak with me. But one more time, a round of applause for our amazing candidates.